Hi, Ivan from the EV Stock Channel here, and today I'm going to break down Tesla's global sales numbers from 2019. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start this episode by looking at Tesla's sales growth since 2013. And as we can see, Tesla grew sales 50% in 2019, but look at what they have accomplished since 2013. They have averaged a vehicle sales growth of 62% over that time frame. And the reason I bring this up is that Tesla have guided that they expect to comfortably exceed 500,000 units in 2020. Now, to do so, Tesla would have to grow sales at a rate of 36%, which would match 2017 for their slowest growth rate in the last 8 years, which is highly improbable since the Made in China Model 3 will be ramping, while the Model Y will start production in Q1 of 2020. So as we can see here, the bar has been set pretty low, and I'll do a deep dive into my 2020 estimates with my colleague Jordan from The Limiting Factor in the coming days, so stay tuned for that. In 2019, Tesla sold more EVs than any other manufacturer with 367,000 sales for the year. Interestingly, second and third places belong to BYD and BAIC from China. And when we look at the top selling EVs, we can see that the Model 3 is light years ahead, almost 3 times more popular than the second placed BAIC EU series. And also to note, other than Tesla, all other models came from China and Japan, so Europe and the US have a lot of catching up to do. Now, speaking of China, we can see that the Model 3 sales finished the year on a strong note. And for the year, Tesla sold around 30,000 Model 3s into China. And note, delivery started in March, so that comes out to an average of 3,000 sales per month. And I point this out as there is a large discrepancy in that bearish analysts predict 50,000 sales in 2020, while Tesla and the bulls are expecting 150,000. So what do I think? Well, I'll go into the details in my next video to give my estimates on China. Now, moving on to Europe, and we start with the Netherlands. And look at the Model 3 delivery numbers. 12,000 Model 3s delivered for the month. This is crazy. And to put this number into perspective, in comparison, Model 3 sales have averaged around 12,000 in the United States. But the difference is, the Netherlands have a population of 17 million compared to 327 million of the United States. With December's figures, the Netherlands have become Europe's largest Model 3 market in Europe. Also to add, Tesla was third in overall sales, only behind Volkswagen and Opel, but outselling some big names like Toyota and Peugeot. So the demand is through the roof. Moving on to Norway, Europe's second biggest market, and while sales have been dropping slightly in the second half of the year, make no mistake about it, the Model 3 is still king of Norway, taking 42% of market share of the EV market. Not to mention that Tesla is just about tied with Volkswagen for most vehicles sold in Norway, and again, beating out the likes of Toyota, BMW and Volvo. And things just continue to get better for Tesla in Norway, as Electric have reported that 56% of new cars purchased in 2019 were plug-ins. Next up, we move to the UK, which has completely opened up a new market for the Model 3 and surpassed even my estimates for demand. In 6 months, the UK has become the third largest Tesla market in Europe. And if we extrapolate what they did in 6 months, this will put the UK on pace for 21,000 Model 3 deliveries in 2020, which would make them Europe's second largest Tesla market. But the news gets better in the UK, in which 2019 has shown a 22% fall in diesel car sales, with petrol cars pretty much unchanged. But electric vehicles are taking off, so we'll keep an eye on these figures and watch the EV revolution play out right in front of our eyes. Now, moving on to Germany, which only had about 9,000 Model 3 sales for the year. This is a pretty low number, and I'll need to do some more research as to what the reason is, and what impact building the Gigafactory in Berlin might have to change things. When looking at the French market, we can see that only 6,455 Model 3s were sold, way less than the Renault Zoe, so another market I'll have to do more research on. And if there's anyone from France or Germany that knows the reason, let me know if you have any insights as to why Model 3 sales haven't taken off yet. Finally, looking at the European market as a whole, we can see that the Model 3 was king of Europe, with more than double the sales numbers of the next best-selling EV, the Renault Zoe, while outselling the Nissan Leaf, the BMW i3 and the VW e-Golf at a rate of 3 to 1. So in summary, about 96,000 Model 3 sold throughout Europe, a number that could grow in 2020, which I'll be keeping a close eye on. Meanwhile, in Australia, we can see that Model 3 sales have hit around 3,300. But note, Australia only started to receive Model 3 deliveries in October, so it'll be interesting to see what type of numbers we can expect over the course of 2020. On a final note, here we can see the US market in 2019 and just how far ahead the Tesla Model 3 was. And if you want to see an in-depth report on the US market, I'll leave a link below in the description. So that's all for today, and thank you to all the Patreons that support the channel. I really appreciate it. Anyway, stay tuned as there's a ton of new content coming out soon. And remember, all content in this video is my opinion only, and we do not recommend buying or selling any financial instruments. So till next time, I'll see you guys soon.